What's up, guys? Welcome to a new video called Which Run is Better? And that basically means I'm going to take two comic book runs on a specific DC character or team, and I'm going to decide which is better. I can also do this for Marvel too. So let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek City. If you have any video suggestions, let me know in the comment section as always. If you want a part 2, make sure to show this video some love. Make sure to like it, subscribe. I could do a part 2 of Marvel, and honestly, I could do a part 2 of DC as well. I could do a part 2 for DC and then 2 parts for Marvel as well. There are so many characters I could have chosen, but I chose to only do 5 today so that there's more opportunities to do more. So the 5 characters that I chose were Justice League, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Nightwing. So I chose 2 runs from each of those characters, and I'm going to pin them up against each other. I chose some of the more iconic comic book runs from all different decades, and we're just going to get straight into this. So let's start off with Justice League. Alright, so today I decided to put the Justice League New 52 comic book run against the 2000s JLA run. So these 2 omnibus contain all of the Justice League New 52 run, except for issues 51 to 52, I'm pretty sure. And then here's the JLA run, which is composed of this Grant Morrison JLA omnibus, but this only collects the stuff that Grant Morrison wrote. This Tower of Babel hardcover collects a lot of the other fill-in issues that weren't written by Grant Morrison. So this collects like up to like issue 46. So this is all like 2000s JLA, and this is all New 52 Justice League. So let's talk about each book. So let's first talk here about these 2 books right here. And this is the 2000s JLA. Very iconic book, very iconic series. Let's first talk about this omnibus. So this is JLA by iconic comic book writer Grant Morrison. This is a critically acclaimed Justice League run. This is from the late 90s, early 2000s. And Grant Morrison really redefined these group of characters. I've done a review on this omnibus, but it was a while back, so the quality of the channel wasn't as good. And this book contains a ton of iconic storylines. My personal favorites include the Justice League Earth 2 storyline. So if you, for example, have played the Injustice mobile video game, there are skins of Earth 2. If you want to know where that came from here. So it kind of sets up the crime syndicate, that style of like different Earths and these different versions of Justice League. The artwork in here is incredible. Very 90s. There's a lot of great stories in here. I do think do I think it's a little overrated? Maybe. I don't think this is one of Grant Morrison's best stories. But you also got to talk about this right here, JLA, The Tower of Babel. This deluxe edition contains JLA 18 through 21, 32 through 33, 43 through 46, and JLA Secret Files issue 3. These are all issues that are in the JLA run, but they weren't written by Grant Morrison, so they didn't put them in this omnibus. So, would I preferred it? They just did JLA Omnibus Volumes 1 and 2 and just had it by everybody, so you could complete the full run? Yes, but I'm not in charge of how DC does stuff here. But this story right here, Tower of Babel, is my favorite individual Justice League storyline. It's iconic, you know the one I'm talking about. This is basically where Batman's contingency plans against the Justice League, where he knows all of their weaknesses. He has a plan to defeat all of them in case they go evil. Those plans get leaked out to the League of Assassins. So Ra's al Ghul, however you pronounce it, he now knows all of the Justice League weaknesses and he exploits them. There's a movie called Justice League Doom that I grew up watching that is based off this book. And I didn't know that for years until I finally read it, because I didn't read the story till a couple years ago and I fell in love with it. So yeah, this is an iconic story. It has Howard Porter artwork. It's written by Mark Waid. Mark Waid is one of my favorite writers of all time. It's incredible. So overall, you get this iconic omnibus and you get a ton of other great stories in this deluxe edition, including Tower of Babel, which in my opinion is the best Justice League story of all time. So let's set this down and look at the Justice League New 52 books. So, Justice League New 52, in case you aren't familiar with what New 52 is, this was a relaunch around 2012. And this was basically kind of it was a I'd say a hard reboot, where they basically rebooted characters and changed almost all of them. So almost everything in this omnibus is written by Geoff Johns, another one of my favorite writers. And I think because it's written by one writer, these two omnibuses come together to tell one epic storyline. So you have this first omnibus here that starts with this really fun story of the team coming together to defeat Darkseid. And it builds up over time where the team is actually sometimes struggling to work together. You also get the Justice League of America being formed by Amanda Waller, which has like Green Arrow and Martian Manhunter and Catwoman on it. You also get Trinity Sin in here, I believe is what it's called. And that's really fun. You also get the Shazam miniseries that the movie was based off. So that's all collected in this first one. And it just kind of, this first omnibus I love. It's one of my favorites. It very much lays the foundation and sets up all of the big events going on. And it ends on a cliffhanger with the Crime Syndicate. And if you don't know who the Crime Syndicate is, it's one of the evil versions of the Justice League. Like Ultraman, Owlman, all those guys, those come from the Crime Syndicate. And it ends with them coming to Earth and taking over the world. So that's when we get Volume 2, which collects a ton of the Forever Evil stuff. Forever Evil was basically when all the villains worked together to stop the Crime Syndicate. And so that's when Lex Luthor and Captain Cold and Shazam join the team in this volume. And it ends with the epic Darkseid War. So there's that. These two omnibuses have multiple different artists on here, and they are genuinely some of the best. You have, of course, Jim Lee, one of the most iconic comic book artists of all time. You also have Jason Fabok, however you pronounce it. Ivan Reyes, who I love as well. You also get Gary Frank. I mean, you're getting a ton of great artists in this book. So I feel like I'm gonna go with Justice League New 52. Not to say that Grant Morrison's is bad. Not Grant Morrison's. Not to say JLA is bad. It's great. So many iconic storylines and iconic moments. But I feel like since Justice League New 52 is one complete epic story that is set up and able to be paid off, this is just a Justice League book written by multiple different people, although most of it's written by Grant Morrison. It does kind of end. It has an ending, like a conclusion, but I feel like this is a bigger, more epic story that I would love. I feel like this could be told into like a TV series. Like you could easily make like 2 seasons of television, and it's an epic storyline with great artwork. But read both of these runs. They're some of the best, and that's what I wanted to do with the series: is take some of the best runs and put them against each other. So I'm gonna give this one to Justice League New 52. So let's move on to Batman. All right, so the 2 runs that I am pinning against each other are Batman by Grant Morrison and Batman by Scott Snyder. 2 of the most celebrated and iconic and important Batman stories that changed the game of Batman forever and are still affecting him to this day. So let's first talk about Batman by Grant Morrison, collected in these 3 omnibuses. So Grant Morrison's run on Batman is one of the most iconic. And there's a couple of reasons why I think it's so good. Number 1, it introduces Damian Wayne. Grant Morrison created the character of Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is Batman's biological son. He is Talia al Ghul is his mother. So Damian was raised by the League of Assassins, and he has to join with Batman in this volume. So you have someone who was raised by the League of Assassins having to work with Batman. So that creates a lot of conflict, and seeing Damian Wayne's character arc through these 3 volumes is really great. So in this volume, that's when you're introduced to Batman, Batman's son, Damian Wayne, and you also get setting up the Batman Incorporated, and it's really fun. And then, in between his 2 volumes, Grant Morrison wrote Final Crisis, which was a big DC event, and spoiler alert, Batman dies. So in volume 2, that is when Dick Grayson, Nightwing, takes over the mantle of Batman, and it gives you this really fun story where Damian Wayne and Dick Grayson are Batman and Robin. They deal with Jason Todd in here. This was before Jason Todd became the Red Hood that we know and love. That's kind of the vigilante who's helping people. This is a different version of Red Hood. This also, I forget that there's that like one. I forget this character's name. He's like he wears like a bat mask, I forget what he's called. He's really creepy. You also get this stuff with Bruce Wayne being sent all throughout time and having to get back to, like, you see him as a caveman, as a pirate. So that's a lot of fun. And then the final volume is when Batman formed Batman Incorporated. So you get to see these stories of all these different Batmen from all over the globe. And then that's when New 52 happened. And that is when, spoiler alert, Grant Morrison killed off his own character. Damian Wayne is killed off in this book by himself. Basically, this future clone of Damian Wayne kills Damian, and it's really brutal. And so that's when the story concludes with Batman fighting against the assassins. And it's great. So, that is Batman by Grant Morrison. So let's talk about Batman by Scott Snyder. So, Batman by Scott Snyder was the New 52 Batman run. So again, like I said with the Justice League, New 52 is a relaunch, but Batman didn't really get rebooted that much. He's still basically the same. But Scott Snyder turned everything on its head with his first run, which was his first arc, which was the Court of Owls, where he introduced this, essentially a cult that has been ruling over Gotham for years, and Batman hasn't known about them. And that's kind of this, it creates this idea where Batman's like, I've been doing this for years, how have I not discovered these guys? Because the Court of Owls had always been a rumor, but he didn't know they were real, and that's when he finds them in this volume. And then you get that Joker story, Death of the Family, where he rips his face off and he goes crazy and tricks Batman into thinking his whole family's dead, and it's really good. You get Zero Year, which kind of retells the origin of Batman in the New 52 way, and it's really different. And he does a lot of weird, fun things in here with, like, Riddler. This volume's just kind of filler. Oh, you get Endgame, and in this one, Batman and Joker face off, and Batman dies, and that's when Commissioner Gordon becomes Batman. And I don't own the last two volumes. I've read them on an ebook, but I don't own them. I need to actually buy those. There's volumes 9 and 10, or there's volume 9, and then I believe there's like an epilogue. But I've read. Don't get it wrong. I've read the whole story. So, I think Scott Snyder's is definitely darker. His writing is great, and I love the mystery of the Court of Owls, and I love his version of Joker. So I think that his version of the villains are really good. So, which run is better? This one's difficult, but I think I'm going to go Grant Morrison. The reason is, not a huge fan of the Commissioner Gordon as Batman stuff with the mech suit. This was during DCU, DCYOU, like U, and that was basically, it was this thing that DC did where they wanted to make stories more about the creators than continuity. So Superman no longer had powers, he was riding a motorcycle, and that's when Commissioner Gordon had this mech suit. Wasn't a fan of that. Some of that's not Scott Snyder's fault, but he does pick it back up with Bloom and that villain and Batman Bruce Wayne returning, but there's a bit of a hiccup right here. But it's still a great story with Greg Capullo's artwork is top notch. But I got to go with Grant Morrison on here. He just did something. He really just, I feel like, brought Batman back to life. I feel like we were kind of at a point where Batman was just kind of, I think he really revised the character and took 80 years of continuity, or no, like 60 years at this point, and made it all fit in. Like, there's random Golden Age Batman characters that show up in here, and he makes them important. And it actually works, which is difficult to do, because some of those characters are really outdated. So, the next character we're talking about is Nightwing. Alright, so here I have with Nightwing, we have Tom Taylor's Nightwing run versus Chuck Dixon's Nightwing run. So, let's talk about these books. Let's first talk about this compendium, because DC has started making a lot of compendiums, and I really appreciate that. So this is Nightwing, A Night in Bloodhaven, Compendium 1, and this is written by Chuck Dixon. And this was the first real Nightwing series. Nightwing was made during the Teen Titans stuff, and basically Dick Grayson moved on from being Robin and became Nightwing. And this is really what made Nightwing the character that we all know and love. Chuck Dixon really brought Dick Grayson back to life by putting him in Bloodhaven, giving him his own city, and really making him the character that we know and love today. Because it starts off with that 4-issue miniseries, setting up the character, and that's when you get all these fun stories with this very 90s artwork. I love this artwork. It's so 90s. And that's when you get, like, Blockbuster in here. You do get a couple of team-ups with Batman. And this also has that Robin Year One story. This compendium doesn't collect it, but I think Volume 2 will. I'll probably just buy the deluxe edition of Nightwing Year One. You get stuff with Huntress in here. Yeah, there's that miniseries. Yeah, there is Nightwing and Huntress 1 through 4, and then Green. There's some Green Arrow issues in here. They're really fun. The artwork in here is kind of crazy. Sometimes it's a little bad, but very 90s. So you gotta get to see the evolution of Nightwing. He starts off with that yellow and blue suit, and eventually he does rock the iconic black and blue one. now let's talk about Tom Taylor's run, which is one of the more modern Nightwing runs. It's the one that just wrapped up, and now we have a new author on the book, and it's really good. I've only read the first issue, but it's pretty good from that one issue. So this was a story where basically after City of Bane, spoiler alert, Alfred was killed. And Nightwing got a lot of that money that he inherited from Alfred. And so he goes back to Bloodhaven and basically is trying to change Bloodhaven for the better, get rid of all the gambling and the crime. And Blockbuster and a lot of other a lot of other criminals don't like that. So you have Nightwing in probably the best place he is mentally. He gets in a relationship with Barbara Gordon, and it's really fun. They're a really cute couple. And I didn't like the idea at first, but I read it, and it really sold me on it. I really dug it. Tom Taylor is a fantastic writer. He comes up with some of the best dialogue I've read. That's why I love Injustice so much, because of the dialogue. He takes kind of corny moments and gives it great dialogue, and he does that in here too. The dialogue in here is incredible. And Bruno Redondo's artwork is incredible. I think you can kind of figure out which one I'm going with. Although Chuck Dixon's Nightwing kind of started it all, it's really important. You do need to read this. Tom Taylor's Nightwing run, there's nothing better than this. I genuinely think this is the best run on Nightwing, and I don't know how it's going to be topped. He did something that nobody else had done. This is great. Don't get me wrong. This wins. So, read both of them, though. Next up, let's look at Superman. So, the two runs that I chose to put Superman is the John Byrne Superman and the Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason Superman. So, let's start talking about them. So, the first one here is Superman by John Byrne, and that is collected in 4 hardcovers. They're called Superman the Man of Steel. I wish we just got a Superman Man of Steel omnibus, but this is what is going to have to work. So basically, this was after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the universe had a reboot. So John Byrne relaunched Superman, retold his origin in the first 6 issues of Superman Man of Steel, and basically just modernized the character, changed the way that Lex Luthor acts, changed the way Lois Lane acts. This gives you the first appearance of Bloodsport from Suicide Squad, the one that shoots Superman with the kryptonite bullet. That's in here. And this is an iconic story. This is, I think, my Superman. My favorite rendition of the character Superman. I love how he retells the origin, that he retells the way that Superman and Batman meet. So that original 6-issue miniseries I love, but the rest of the stuff in here is really fun too. It basically just shows you how he's meeting all these characters, getting into Metropolis, growing as a hero. And then the next, in volumes 2, 3, and 4, which I haven't read, he seems to be going all over the place. He seems to interact with Big Barda, Wonder Woman. But in this one, he meets Batman, he meets Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Lana Lane, Bloodsport. It's so iconic, and I love how they tell his origin. And then we have Superman by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. This is the omnibus. This takes place during Rebirth, where basically the Superman before New 52 takes over the mantle because the New 52 Superman died, which I forget about. That's so random. I forgot about that. And he has Lois Lane, and he has a kid, Jonathan Kent. And Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason are one of the best duos in comics. I think their writing and artwork go great together, and they really fit thematically. And I've praised Batman by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason for how great of a father-son story it is. And this is the total opposite, but it's still fantastic. Where Batman and Robin, it's a story of these two broken people finding each other. This is a much more upbeat, happy story, but it's still so, so good. I don't know what it is, but Peter J. Tomasi can write father-son stories. I love this book so much. The artwork is beautiful. The writing, the story is so good. And although I love Batman by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, I think this is better. I think this is better than that Batman run, and that's saying a lot because that's one of my favorite Batman runs. This book is beautiful. I love it. It's so good. And definitely the best thing to come out of Superman in a long time. So which one am I going to go with? I'm going to go with Superman by Peter J. No, I'm going with John Byrne's run. I know it may have sounded like I was going to go with this one. And I love this book. Don't get me wrong. It's one of my favorite comics of all time. I got to go with this, man. This is the thing that I think really gave us modern Superman. They basically took what worked with Christopher Reeve and put it in a modern storytelling. This modernized the character. It changed his continuity. And this is still the continuity we're going off. Although there have been reboots, the 80s is really where everybody got their relaunch. And this was the building the groundwork, and I gotta go with it. Love this. read both of these. They're great. And I feel like I'm saying that with all of these. All of these are some of the best runs. That's why I'm able to do this video. Final one, Wonder Woman. All right. So the two Wonder Woman runs that I have chose are Gail Simone's Wonder Woman and George Perez's Wonder Woman. So let's talk about it. The first one here, Wonder Woman by George Perez. This was the post-Crisis reboot. So after Crisis on Infinite Earths, everything rebooted. And George Perez did the artwork and the story. And look at this, man. This is epic. And that's the only way I could describe this book as epic. In the first issue, Wonder Woman's barely in it. It just retells the story of Hercules and how the Amazons created Themyscira. And this artwork, like I'm opening it, and like George Perez, oh my god, rest in peace, absolute legend. This artwork is beautiful. The way he draws the Amazonians, the way he draws Ares, the way he draws all this background, the Themyscira, the woods, the way he draws Wonder Woman, it's all gorgeous. And then his writing is also so good. This relaunched the character. This gave us the modern origin and modernized the character that had kind of been outdated. And this is where, yeah, this is really where my love for Wonder Woman starts. I've read the Golden Age stuff. It's not very good. This is when Wonder Woman got good. And then we have Gail Simone's Wonder Woman. This is, I think, when I think of modern Wonder Woman, this is what I think of. Even though it's not really modern, it's almost 20 years old now. Oh, Lord. But, so, I had never read Gail Simone's Wonder Woman before, but I had heard great things. I always thought, oh, George Perez, there's nothing ever going to be better than this. And then I read this and got the DC Finest, and I fell in love with it immediately. You got this very 2000s artwork. My favorite Wonder Woman story comes from this book. And that is The Circle. That's basically the story where there are these group of Amazonians that don't think Wonder Woman is worthy, and then there's also like neo-Nazis, and it's these two stories come together, and it's great. You also get a lot of fun team-ups in here with like Power Girl, and what else you got in here? The Outsiders. Yeah, man. I really dug this book. Really enjoyed it, and it's a lot of fun. So, this was something that I had heard a lot about, and I didn't know like how good it would be, but reading it, I understand now why so many people love Gail Simone's run. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't beat George Perez's run. There's nothing that beats this. I don't know how they're going to, because this is so iconic. The artwork is beautiful. The dialogue, the story being told is so good. But again, you got to read both of these because these are both great. Whew! So that's the video. Those are the runs that I decided to put together. If you want to see a part 2 of DC, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to see a Marvel one where I take iconic Marvel runs and put them up against each other, make sure to let me know. Again, as always, make sure to like, subscribe. I'm really trying to get monetized. I need 4,000 watch time hours. I currently have 2,000 something, and I need 1,000 subscribers. I have like 920, so let's get there by the end of the summer. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and as always, stay geeky.